and welcome back to the channel. Now this video is just a follow-up on the video I did in which I mentioned the Battle of Britain, because a lot of people have got the wrong end of the stick and a lot of people have, what would you call it, conflicting opinions on this matter. So yeah, I'm all in favour of getting a dialogue going. And I have to say that there have been some support comments, some opposing comments, and my principle here is that I believe everyone has the right to make a comment. I do not censor the comments. I do not delete comments unless they violate YouTube's terms and conditions. I leave the comments as they are because I may not agree with you, but I will fight to the death for your right to hold an opinion and to voice that opinion. That's what free speech and freedom is all about. Those are the things that the men who fought bravely in the Battle of Britain were fighting for. Freedom. And freedom of speech is one of the crucial elements of a free society. So I, go for it. If you want to call me names, and people have, they've told me to F off and they've called me a dickwit and things like that, go for it. I'm happy to listen. I may not agree with you, but I will always let you have your say, because this isn't about me, this is about the hobby. It's about everyone involved in the hobby. Right, first of all, I want to define a word for you. I've got it on the thing here. Fascism. Fascism is a form of far-right authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and a strong regimentation of society and of the economy. Okay? It's fascism. So basically it's when the government tells you what to do, and you don't have much say in things. Okay? Fortunately, well, that sort of describes Nazi Germany in the very late 30s and 40s. Hitler came to power and he basically took over, told people what they were going to be doing. Started as a democracy, turned into a fascist state. And that's what the people who fought in the Battle of Britain were trying to protect the British people from. So, we have a debt of gratitude that we owe those people to continue that fight against fascism. We really do. So let's examine what's happening now. We are being told that we must register if we want to fly drones. We are being told we must pay a tax in the form of the registration fee if we want to fly drones. And that sounds like a reasonable thing. For example, if you drive a car, you've got to register that vehicle. You've got to get a license to prove you know how to drive it. And you've got to pay tax, because roads are not a natural resource. You have to make a road. You have to build it. It costs money. You have to maintain it. It costs money. You have to police the people using it. It costs money. Those costs have to be met, and they're met by the people who use the roading system. So we have all these things in place on the roads in the UK, but despite registration, licensing, taxation, 1,870 people died on UK roads in the year ending June 2019. So licensing, registration, taxation, it's not a universal panacea. It doesn't stop bad things from happening. When used properly, it can reduce the levels. I mean, for example, I have a driver's license. I wouldn't drive without one. I have a driver's license because I believe it's essential in a dangerous environment where nearly 2,000 people a year die, such as on the UK roads. People have to prove that they are competent and capable. Likewise, I pay a fee to license my vehicle, and my vehicle has a license plate on it, because all those things are necessary to preserve public safety. It's been proven. The death toll of nearly 2,000 people a year in the UK is proof of that. In the USA, it's 30,000 a year. In New Zealand, it's I think about 300 or 400 people a year. They all die on the roads. So roads are a dangerous place. They they justify the impositions that people must accept if they want to use that resource. So let's look at drones. Let's look at model aircraft. As I've said many times, there has not been one single death ever in the entire history of the planet as a result of someone recreationally flying a multi-rotor drone. It is one of the safest pastimes in the world, bar none. There are not many hobbies where nobody has died. I'm sure stamp collectors have had heart attacks when they've found a penny black. This is a safe hobby, right? So it becomes hard to justify all the same impositions, licensing, taxation, registration. How do you justify imposing those on a community that has proven itself to be incredibly safe, hasn't taken a single life? And we look at model aircraft, because that is a separate thing. This is an important distinction, and one that really annoys me, that the regulators, virtually nowhere in the world have regulators said, well, the problem is actually these people that fly these drones they buy from the high street with little knowledge or understanding, and they do stupid things. Over here we have the hobbyists, people who build their own models and fly them in grassy fields miles from anywhere. These people are not and never have been a problem. But because we've had a very, very small number of people over here doing stupid things, we're going to penalise these people. We're going to tax these people. We're going to force them to register and sit a test, even though we acknowledged in the past they're not a problem, they're not a danger, they're not a risk. That's unjust. That is totally unjust. But the governments around the world are imposing those restrictions, those taxes, those impositions on a group of people that have never been a problem. That is unjust. And if you think about it, that starts to fall under the definition of fascism. It is telling people what to do without justification. You're not justifying those measures. You can't say it's for safety because they've never been a safety issue. You can't say it's because of national security because they've never represented a threat to the national security. These people might, in some small manner, be doing that, but why are you punishing those people? This is where this whole registration thing falls down. This is where I think the BMFA didn't do the job properly. The BMFA should have said, look, we are not the problem. We're not going to be complicit in what you've come up with, because that would be basically admitting culpability and guilt where there is none. But no, the BMFA chose not to do that. They chose to roll over and say, oh, we'll be your unpaid collectors, your unpaid license collectors or registration collectors. Wasn't a good look. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. Others will disagree with me, as they have done in the comments on my last video, but that's not a good look, and I think it was the beginning of showing a massive weakness that is going to come back and bite people on the bum. Now, looking at the whole impositions, as I say, if a government wants to impose registration, licensing and taxes on model flyers, if they don't want to appear like a fascist state, they have to come up with justifications for reasons for doing so. This must be in the public good, not just to benefit a commercial entity or whatever, or just because someone in power says this is what we have to do. There has to be justification. Removal of freedoms without reason is theft, and these are the freedoms. Our forefathers fought for these freedoms in wars to give us the freedom of choice, to give us the freedom of association, to give us the freedom to do the things that we wanted to do, providing we're not adversely impacting other people. And flying model aircraft doesn't adversely impact other people. So for governments to come along and say, no, we're taking that freedom away, you have to buy it back for £9 a year and fill out these forms and do this test. No, that's totally unacceptable. And for people who've been making comments saying, oh, it's just £9, just pay the money, it's great. No, it's not that simple. It really isn't that simple. Look to the USA, as I said, where they were only charged $5 for 3 years. And they all said, just pay the money. And now they're facing the extinction of the hobby, because they have just simply, by paying the money, by following the diktats of the government, they have said, we accept whatever you say. So then the government says, well, we'll do whatever we say, let's do this. And that's been the result. It's been unacceptable. Now, some people have said, I had no option but to register because otherwise I couldn't fly at my local club. Well, I don't take that. I don't accept that. It's your opinion, you're entitled to it, but I don't accept it as being valid, because registering is an option. It's a choice. And what I was saying in my video was, if you want to support the hobby, if you want to support the long-term prospects for the hobby, if you want to make the hobby still available for future generations, then you must stand up and you must show resistance. You must not just take the diktats and accept them at face value. You must demand the proof. Where is the proof? There is no proof that these are necessary. And all I was asking was, rejoin your club. Rejoin your club, but don't register. And you can do that because if you fly sub 250, you can still legally fly. You will still have insurance if you're flying sub 250. You don't have to be registered if you fly sub 250. And if you've got bigger models and you don't want to fly sub 250, then take one for the team. Think of future generations. Think of other people and say, I am going to sit on the sidelines until this summer to make a point. But no, so many people just seem to think, no, I don't care about anybody else. I'm in this for me. I don't want to go without flying for 7 or 8 weekends. No, that's unacceptable. I am going to continue signing the death warrant of the hobby, and I'm just going to go enjoy myself. I'm going to be selfish and do that. Again, it's your choice. I can criticize you for it. That's my opinion. Your opinion is obviously different. Everyone has to make that decision and live with the consequences. But I get back to the whole thing. This is a removal of freedoms without any proof that such a removal is either necessary or provides any benefit in terms of public safety or national security. If there was any proof, then the regulators would have rolled this out. They'd have said, we've done the risk assessment. Here is the proof that we have to do this, or people will die, or property will be badly damaged, or the national security will be compromised. But they haven't rolled that out. You know that they have done risk assessments. I know that the regulators have done risk assessments in every country around the world. So why are they not rolling these risk assessments out and saying, look, here's the proof? Unfortunately, it's because the risk assessments disprove their claims. And if you want proof of that, let's look at the most effective risk assessment of all that has been done around the world. Now, if you join the BMFA, you can get millions of pounds in insurance cover for just a few quid a year. Think about it. Now, insurance companies are the best risk assessors of all because their very existence, their continued operation depends on getting that risk assessment right. If they underestimate the risk, they go broke because they pay out more in claims than they collect in premiums. If they get the risk assessment wrong, then they go broke because their prices are too high and people go to other cheaper insurers who can provide the necessary cover without the huge prices. So they've got to be exactly well tuned with their risk assessment. You can bet that insurance companies have been constantly reviewing the risk and setting their premiums accordingly. So the fact you can get millions of pounds of cover for a few quid a year is proof that the hobby is incredibly safe. The number of claims on that insurance must be incredibly low because they're giving tens of thousands of people millions of dollars in cover for a few quid a year. Think about that. That's your risk assessment. And that's why the CAA, the FAA, CASA, and all the other transport candidates, that's why they haven't rolled out a risk assessment to justify we need to do this for safety, because the risk assessment says otherwise. The risk assessment says this is already very safe. You don't need to tax people. You don't need to license people. You don't need to force them to register because nobody's dying. My hashtag is now, show me the bodies. Show me the bodies. They can't. There aren't any bodies. It's not like the roads where 1,870 people die every year in the UK, 30,000 people die on the roads every year in the USA. No, at no time anywhere in the entire history of the world has anyone died as a result of the recreational use of a multi-rotor drone. So there you go, it's all a lie, it's a deception. And this is another worrying thing because fascist governments, they lie. They don't tell you the truth because they know you wouldn't accept it. They tell you lies because they want to cover up the truth. And in this case, Gatwick. Now, Gatwick is often rolled out by the UK government as justification for these increased clampdown on drones and drone users and the registration. Drones closed Gatwick Airport for 3 days. But strangely enough, when challenged to produce the evidence, there is no pictures of a drone. There are no drones. There's no evidence other than a few unreliable eyewitness reports. Yet we're supposed to believe this. We're supposed to take this as gospel because it was the government. They wouldn't tell us lies. Of course, they tell you lies, just like they're lying about the need for this for safety and security. The risk assessment says otherwise. So if you go out there and you sign up and register and you go and do your thing, you are complicit in a fraud. You're an accessory to fraud. The government is perpetrating a fraud on the UK people by telling them lies, by overinflating the risk, not backing it up with any evidence because they do not have any, and then demanding that you pay them money for the privilege of flying, even though you're no risk. If you think that's good, if you're one of the people that criticised me and said, oh, you're all wrong, well then I'd like you to justify your stance. Why do you think it is acceptable that a group of grown adults and kids who fly models on a grassy field miles from anywhere, and even the CAA has acknowledged do not represent a threat to the national airspace or national security, why are they being penalised for the alleged actions of a few people that have gone and bought drones in the high street and done stupid things with them? Different community. These are mature, responsible people who conduct themselves in a responsible manner, flying model aircraft well away from people in place and property under the guise of self-regulation and not causing a problem. These are people who have done bad things out of ignorance or whatever. Why are you saying you must be held responsible for what they've done? Only an idiot would agree to accept that allegation. But if you sign up and register, that's what you're saying. You're saying, yeah, I admit I'm responsible because some guy flew a drone somewhere, or because you're telling me that there were drones at Gatwick. No, really, can people be that silly? Can they really be that silly? The other thing is kids. Now, an 11-year-old kid cannot own or operate a model aircraft like a Bixler or a Park Zone Trojan or anything that weighs more than 250 grams. They're not allowed to be an operator. And the thing is, they cannot legally fly that model without an operator number on the side. How do they get an operator number? You have to be 18 to get an operator number. So if they're 11, 12, 13, and they want to fly one of those models, they can't. They can't own it. They can't operate it. So are you telling me that's sensible? Because I don't seem to have seen any reports of 11-year-old children menacing airports with 300-gram foam models of a Spitfire. No. So the government's claim that this is essential for safety and security is a lie. It's a total lie. And you're swallowing it. Really, seriously. Gullible? Much? I don't know. So there you go. I'm going to say now, I will register. I'm going to stand in line to register. I'm going to be the first one in the queue to register when registration comes in New Zealand. When the CAA and New Zealand here say everyone must register to fly drones and model aircraft, I'm going to be right at the front of the queue. I'm going to have my pen ready, I'm going to have my money, I'm going to have all my documentation. I'm going to be waiting, banging on the door at 5 to 8 in the morning. But only if they have proven to me that it is essential we do this to preserve the public safety and the national security. If they cannot prove that, as is the case in the UK, as is the case in the USA and just about every other country, then I will not be registering. I'm not going to be complicit in a fraud that governments around the world are perpetrating on gullible citizens who simply want to continue enjoying their hobbies in a safe and responsible manner. If you choose to be complicit, that is your choice. I'm not going to, I'm not going to remove your choice. I'm all in favour of freedom of choice. You have the freedom to make that choice. But don't complain when a few years down the track, as is the case in the USA, suddenly you've got nowhere to fly and no legal right to fly, because that 0 to 400 foot airspace is like gold. It's like gold. And as we know, when governments see the opportunity to turn a natural resource into money, they rush at it. Radio licenses and all the other things, and fishing licenses, all natural resources, but the government sees them and they sell them back to you for a huge sum. Now, we as a hobby can't compete with Amazon or Google to buy space. So we will be relegated to nowhere. Out you go. In fact, I heard the other day from reasonably reliable sources that CAA in the UK are even considering the regulation of indoor flights. Indoor flights by drones, model aircraft, pass. Think about that for a while and look to the USA, where they all thought they were safe because they registered, and now the hobby is doomed because they're phasing out the flying areas. You can only fly a model aircraft, a non-compliant craft, a model you built yourself, can only fly it at a FRIA, which is an allocated flying area. And after 12 months, no more FRIAs will be allocated. So as today's flying field becomes tomorrow's supermarket car park, the number of those areas will reduce until they are all gone. And then it's goodbye hobby. And this is only possible because people are complicit. People yield to the diktats of what really is a fascist organisation in the state. When they do that, they're showing fascism. And that, as I said originally, is what the brave men who fought the Battle of Britain tried to protect you from. And if you're going to capitulate to that now, it dishonours their memory. Yes, let's get you all angry again. I don't give a damn. I'm not here to keep people happy. I'm here to protect the hobby for future generations. And those of you who choose to register instead of taking a stand and some minor inconvenience for a few months, well, yeah, what can I say? And other people have said, but taking a stand will do no good. If people didn't register, it wouldn't make any difference. Yeah, well, actually it would. Because if you look carefully at the founding documents for this whole registration system in the UK, the cost of setting it up was budgeted at £4 million. £4 million to set up a computer with a database that will handle at the moment 80,000 registrations. Ludicrous price. And the cost of operation going forward was £4 million a year. And they have an obligation to recover that cost from the people on the database. So they figured that initially they'd start with about 200,000 people and they'd charge them 17 quid a year, and then going forward the prices would be altered as the numbers changed, so as to make sure they got their 4 million quid a year to run the thing. Now, what would happen? What would happen if nobody registered? Well, they've spent $4 million quid setting it up, and in the first year they would have to spend another 4 million quid, but there'd be no money coming in. No registrations, no money. Do you really think, given that the CAA has an imperative to cover the costs, they could continue to operate a system that was costing 4 million quid a year if nobody had signed up? No, it would be shut down. The whole registration concept would be cancelled. But people are not brave enough. They're not principled enough to take that stand. Some are. And I give full credit to those people who commented on my last video saying, I haven't registered. I haven't registered. You have my respect, my incredible respect, and you should have the respect and the thanks of future generations who have seen you take a stand to try and protect their rights. But unfortunately, too many people just thinking of themselves. Oh, I want to fly next weekend. I've got to register. I want to have my fun. I don't give a damn about future generations. I don't give a damn about anybody else. I'm happy to accept the dictates of this fascist government and capitulate to their demands and dishonour the memory of the brave men that fought in World War II. That's the way I see it. You disagree. I respect your right to disagree. Go for it. I'm not going to delete comments. I'm not going to censor comments. Say what you like. I will fight to the death for your right to free speech. And it's a shame that people can't reciprocate by fighting for the rights of others when it comes to something as simple as being allowed to continue flying model aircraft in a safe and responsible fashion without being taxed for it, without being on an offenders list. There you go. That's my talk. It was supposed to be a short video. It didn't work out that way. Sorry about that. And my wife told me off because I didn't put a good t-shirt on. She's like that. There you go. I'm going to get back now. This will be the last of these ranty talking head videos for a while, I certainly hope, because I want to get on and do other things. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show those of you who are naysayers, oh, 250 grams, too small, just toys. I'm going to show you how much fun you can have with sub 250. I'm going to do a few videos coming up showing you sub 250 craft, what you can do with them, how much fun you can have. And if you're really lucky, you might get the plans for the Outlaw 250. Yeah, hopefully. Okay, there you go. So that's it. Go to the comments. Tell me off again. Have your say. Go on. You've got free speech. Use it while you can before it's taken from you. Because the way things are going, it's only a matter of time, as the Airline Pilots Association would say. Bye for now.